Yeah, it's your boy Ray on the mic. Let's go.
Mic check, mic check. Welcome to On the Mic with Ray White, where we share life lessons, encourage self-reflection, and equip you to take action. My name is Ray White, and we just hit 100 episodes. What? Yo, that's crazy, man. We hit 100 episodes of the On the Mic with Ray White podcast. I can't believe it. It's been a 3-year journey trying to get to this point, and what a journey has it been. 2021, 100 episodes, capping the year with this podcast, and I'm excited to come to you all today with this accomplishment, with this milestone. So in this episode, essentially what I want to do is briefly talk about the last 100 episodes, not talk about every episode, but just what has that journey been for me, and then what's going next. And then, as always, what actions you could take moving forward, because again, I don't want y'all to just to listen to me talk. I want to provide some sort of action steps, some sort of handles, some sort of lessons that you could take away too, for you to reflect on in your journey, especially in the season where we're about to head into the new year. I hope none of us are essentially waiting for the new year to get started on whatever it is that we're wanting to embark on. But if you are in that same boat, if you're in that perspective, here's some things to take carry forward with you to be prepared for that, which actually gets to the first point. So for those who are coming new to the podcast, I started this podcast 3 years ago, essentially in December of 2019, 2018. And in that time, 2018, I was like, yo, I feel like I have this skill set, this voice, this gift within me that I want to utilize. And I don't want to wait till the end of the year to get started. So let me just get started now. And let me tell you, I was super nervous because you're putting yourself out there in a space that is brand new, in a space that can be easily critiqued, especially in a time in social media where everybody's talking about everybody. Has something to say about it. Nonetheless, the idea of stepping into the space has been a fun deal in this time, recording 100 episodes, having phenomenal guests on the podcast, being able to practice and utilize my skill set in public speaking in this way, and not only work to craft a message, but be able to use that skill set to actually talk to people, go out and speak to folks in various public event spaces, virtually and in person, as well as hosting various events as an MC, utilizing my DJing and my pep rally MCing days back in high school and college into this new space, which has been phenomenal. And just in these 100 episodes, not only just the on the mic presence, right, but behind the mic as well, off the mic, of learning how to structure a business, learning how to have a system in place, and learning the technical aspects of podcasting, of videography, of the editing, audio engineering, video engineering process, being able to structure just presenting myself in certain ways to invite people onto the show, and then creating multiple social media content for that, right? So it's more than just coming up to the microphone and speaking. It's the promotion, the marketing, the sales, if you will, part of it, and then the other aspects that is linked to it, which is just a fantastic thing to consider, because it's more than what you think when it comes to this type of stuff. But I'm not gonna lie to you, it was hard. It was hard reaching 100 episodes. There were a lot of dry spells. I was scrolling through on Apple Podcasts, the 100 episodes that I did that's up there right now, and there were a lot of times where it was like, oh yeah, Ray was good for like 2-3 months, and he was gone for he was ghost for a couple months. Or there was a couple times where I was consistent for a couple weeks, and then I took a week off, and then it turned into 2 to 3, and so. Part of that was just understanding what exactly are we doing here? What exactly is On the Mic with Ray White? Starting off as a space just to share some stories and lessons that I've learned in life to provide action, then interviewing people to also share a similar type of context, dabbling into some other type of segments that would allow me to expand my voice in the things that I'm interested in. but still dealing with a lot of self-doubt, dealing with a lot of insecurities, and just even not really knowing what direction I was going when it comes to this avenue, right? I don't want to necessarily, before I would say it was self-imposter syndrome, I'm trying real hard to be cognizant of the words that I use. Because I don't think necessarily I am an imposter. I am Ray. I'm not an imposter. I am me. But I do recognize what that brings of just not feeling like you are capable or competent to speak into certain things that you feel passionate about or have a voice in, because you may not see yourself in that space, or you may have received some feedback that wasn't really what you thought was, or not say negative, but just like, oh, that was feedback that I didn't really think I was going to receive. Maybe I shouldn't be here. So those types of things, they definitely crept up in this process. And then I realized, I missed podcasting, so I get back into it, and that's when the rhythm came again. So in that, consistency was one area where I really struggled with. Dealing with some insecurities, something I really struggled with. And then knowing where exactly this podcast is going is something. It's just another thing that I was struggling with. But all the while doing something, doing this podcast, stepping into this space and saying, I declare myself as a podcaster, as a speaker, to come in and practice this gift it was a good move. It was a good move because not only has this podcast provided doors for me to feel confident in some context to practice crafting a message and working the intricacies of other things, starting a business in that way, but it also opened doors for me to speak to groups and spaces like I mentioned before, and then feel confident to say, I can do this. I can really make an effort into this. And also one of the major accomplishments was writing a book. I did talk about this in another podcast. There's going to be a whole deal about this in 2022, but I wrote a book. It's going to be coming out next year, and I'm excited to kind of put that out there into the world and just step into that space, which leads into what the next evolution of this, the evolution of Raymond White into the new season, into the new year. So I feel like the podcast is gonna stay. It's gonna be around, but it might shift. On the mic with Ray White itself, it will be something that probably will take a pause, but the concept, the brand itself of On the Mic Productions will still continue. I had this vision of having a podcast network. I just think it'll be dope, right? Just to have a network of podcasts that have various segments under this On the Mic umbrella, sharing stories, sharing reflections, sharing lessons that can help equip people to the next level, to get to the next level. And within myself, there's so many stories that I want to talk about, so many segments that I have of athletics, fatherhood, and being a family man, leadership, and building culture, community cultures in organizational context, institutions, talking about my identity as a Black man in America, and talking about that, entrepreneurship. So there's like so many segments that I want to talk through, and I want to find a way to interweave all those type of things into a platform, or have like separate segments that talk about those things individually that are more niched to particular environments, and grow in that context. So I think I know, speaking with a little bit more confidence, speaking with a little more boldness, I know that next year, 2022, is going to be a little bit more of that realm where I will be leading more into certain segments, more particularly talking about leadership, organizational development, and being more cognizant and intentional in speaking into those areas, ways that our institutions and individuals can develop leaders to build inclusive communities where every identity belongs and thrives. That's going to happen for sure. And where On the Mic comes into play, or this particular platform, this stream, On the Mic with Ray White, trying to see whether or not that there will be the podcast will exist and then have these different segments, or just certain pieces will have its own podcast like platform, and then I'll just reference it on this main channel, whatever. I don't know. The logistics is neither here nor there. It will be here or there, but that's not the main concern. The concern is essentially just getting started and moving forward in that direction. So there'll be some crossover. There'll be some more specifics in certain areas, but knowing that I'm going to lean towards that. Another project that I want to work on is, highlighting the stories of Black folks in Salem. Knowing that I'm a transplant, more particularly, but I've been here for almost 15 years in Salem, Oregon. Talking about highlighting the stories of the Black individuals who are here, who have been here, their success, their triumphs, their trials, and what they want to accomplish in the future, just to share those types of things, because that's part of the heritage, that's part of the lineage, and haven't really seen anything like that, more particularly in this community. So why not, right? And then also, I think there is some space to kind of just, I ain't got no hair. I got some hair, but let your hair down, right? Like just another avenue where people could just come on and just chat, and we could just talk about the concepts of the day, or the things that we are experiencing, or what have you. So keep the on the mic kind of flavor to it, but just have that carved out in a certain capacity. So talk about leadership, talking about our identities, and talking about just our reflections of life and what we're experiencing on a day-to-day are kind of the three different lanes that I want to allow this platform to grow into, but being more intentional about stepping into that space. So what I hope to share with you all today is that, even though there has been some unplanned downtimes, some unplanned time off when it comes to the podcast, I will be taking a little bit more of an intentional break to produce more content centered on, more particularly in the organizational development space, since that is an avenue that I'm being more intentional about stepping into in 2022, having a voice, having a space into there to help leaders and organizations in that way, and start producing content in that way, but not necessarily, lose this lane, but just be more intentional in that lane. So I'm putting some pause in there. I want to create a better system in the way that I produce content, in the way that I produce the work that I do, so that I could be active in all these spaces and provide quality content for you all. So yeah, 100 episodes. The lessons that I want to pull from all this is essentially that don't wait to the end of the year to get started on something. Declare what it is that you want to strive to do and do it. Have community to support you along the way. Get good on systems. Get good on a system. Find a system that works and stay consistent in that system. Consistency is the major key in a lot of ways. You could be talented like no other. You could have all the best setup, all the best system, but if you're not consistent with the work, then people will forget. People will not rock with you. And I've experienced that. So that's one of the things I definitely experienced, where my consistency dropped off and the engagement dropped off too. And so with that, stay consistent, find whatever consistency looks like for you. Make sure that you show up and show out in that way. And if you experience them in insecurities, if you experience some doubts along the way, remind yourself of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Remind yourself of the start of it all, and so circle yourself around people who can speak that into you and can make sure that you're stepping into where you're trying to go. Since I know that's for me, I want to make sure I do that for others. So whenever I recognize somebody doing something, I try to do my best to speak life into that, shout them out, ask them about it, and just engage with them on a regular basis to make sure that they know that that people see them. People are seeing them actively working. So be that voice for them. Find somebody who can be that voice for you, which would be pretty dope. And then find that milestone that is going to give you life. If it's 100, if it's 1,000, if it's 50, if it's 10, make sure that you set a number out there, set a goal out there, and go get it, go accomplish it, go achieve it. Because you'll feel good at the end of the day to say, dang, I did that X amount of times and I feel good about it. I did this podcast. I produced it 100 episodes. Actually, I produced more than 100, but some of them didn't really have the great quality sounds. So I took them off, but I produced 100 episodes that you can find online that people can go see on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube in some context, that my kids can listen to when they get older, and my grandkids can listen to when they get older. That's pretty cool. Like, I don't know, this is a cool thing to do. And a cool way to continue the legacy. But it doesn't stop here. We always evolve. So I plan on evolving. I hope you evolve too. When you change, it's okay. We're supposed to change. We're supposed to grow. Just make sure that as you're growing in a way that is developing you into a better self. That's developing you and the community and people around you into something better. And that's what we're striving towards. So, don't mean to ramble, but excited that we've hit 100. Excited that we are towards the end of 2021. Excited for what next year is going to bring. And more importantly, just keep putting in the work. Keep putting in the work. Put your head down, put in the work. I got a lot of work to do, and being the organizational development strategist that I want to be, declaring it, and finding speaking and conducting speaking opportunities, consulting opportunities, coaching opportunities that are centered in that space, creating content that is centered on that kind of work as well, being somebody who is a young leader in the space and developing other leaders to also have that lens too in institutions, so that way every identity can belong and thrive is something I'm excited for. I'm excited for having more relationships and engagements in this podcasting space, and developing other people who want to learn and grow how to podcast as well. And the behind the scenes work that goes into it, because that's fun. I like having those conversations and helping develop people in that space as well. Shout out to Ben Mason. Yeah. So let's get it. I hope your new year, I hope your 2021 was a good year. I hope it was a year where you learned a lot. It might have been a hard year for a lot of us. It for sure was a hard year for a lot of us. In that hardness, in that despair, in the joy too. I hope there was lessons. I hope there was hope. I hope there's people that you've leaned on and you can't lean on, and that we continue to lean on those folks in the next upcoming year too. I love y'all. I will let y'all know, and more poignantly, the different content that's coming out in 2022, and be able to produce that and publish that in this space as well, and show you where you can go to learn more about that kind of stuff. But I appreciate y'all rocking me for 100 of On the Mic with Ray White episodes. And yeah, it's been a fun journey. But be sure to share your story with others, and know that I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.